on a wee side note, for anybody who happens to stumble across this video and you happen to be somebody who is still trying to figure out what they want to do with their life, I would highly recommend you stay the fuck away from the construction industry, because you will come to find, unless you end up lucky enough to get an apprenticeship or whatever, you'll come to find that you will end up at the mercy of agencies. So just briefly, before I go on any further, today, Monday morning, everybody hates Mondays. What happens? Turn up at work, only to be told I'm not needed anymore. Now I have to wait and rely on phone calls from my agencies in order to get me another job. You know, it's just 0-hour contract BS, you know. Anyhow, so I'm talking about sex education and education in general. And it's been a while since I've talked about sex education in Scotland. But as far as education in and of itself, no sort of stranger to that. But I just want to, can't remember the title of most of the videos that I used to make on this subject, because it was a long time ago, by and large. But there was this one that did spring to mind. This one here. RSPH provides weird resources for pupils with learning difficulties, right? This is the same website in which the articles, which I'm about to pull up on the screen, relate to. But just as it says there, sex toys, oral and anal defined, self-pleasures defined, how to view porn safely is defined. And bear in mind, though, this is for this was educational resources aimed for people, or children, I should say, with learning difficulties. Okay, and some of the imagery that's included is fucking weird. Pardon my French. I won't be showing it in this video, but I'll leave the link to this one in the description if you want to go and watch it. However, that then leads me to this. So I came across this article earlier on, which was one of a few. Ended up backtracking slightly because I came across a Freedom of Information request that came out in the last day or so. And then I obviously sort of backtracked and ended up on this article. So this goes back to the 29th of January of this year. A mother from Elgin, or Maury, has called for changes to RSHP education after her daughter was shown inappropriate material. Okay. And it goes on to say here that it was inappropriate. Again, sorry. And bear in mind as well, you have to turn ad blocker off to use this fucking this news article, news website. Sorry, so it's a bit difficult to look at. But she was surprised when her 9-year-old daughter told her that she and her friend had seen pictures of a naked man after getting home from school in Elgin 2 weeks ago. Okay. She concluded that her daughter was referring to the RSHP relationship, sexual health and parenthood resources or education program, which is taught as part of the health and wellbeing area of the Curriculum for Excellence in Scotland. Going on to then say that she had not been given prior warning by the school, the identity of which Mrs. Cormie does not wish to disclose, that her daughter was about to undergo this part of the curriculum. She's quoted as saying, "I absolutely would have wanted a personal email to inform me that this was starting. The way I could have supported my daughter, that way, sorry, I could have supported my daughter through it." Right. And then it goes on to show you like some of the imagery. And I mean, this isn't a joke, by the way. Like, this stuff can't be easily accessed on their website, the RSHP website, which I will come on to in a minute. I mean, for example, sorry, my mic's making dodgy noises. It is completely broken. When a man feels like he wants to have sex, I'm not even joking. Like, this is stuff that you can't access, no bother. When a woman feels like having sex with her partner, her and her might feel tingly or slippery to touch. I mean, I'm laughing, but I mean, I feel compelled to not sort of say these words aloud, even though I probably could, but you know, my YouTube guidelines. But yeah, if I feel that way, then how the fuck is this justifiable to teach 9-year-olds in this particular instance? You know, material shared, which is intended for primary 7 children. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The expression that seems to have gone well under the radar as times have progressed. You know, if something isn't broken, don't fix it. And that is absolutely very much applicable to the education system in Scotland, or it should have been applicable at the time. And what I mean by that is, when I was in school, to anybody listening up until this point, when you were in school, you know, you didn't have to have graphic detail thrown in your face while going through school. And as far as sex education was concerned, it was, as far as the schools I went to up in the Highlands, it was kept at bare minimum. We didn't go into graphic detail about porn We didn't go into graphic detail about sex toys. We didn't go into graphic detail about different positions and transgenderism, etc., etc. Right? And we didn't have to be told about how our bodily functions work. We were told the bare minimum, birds and bees. We were taught about sexual protection to prevent, unwanted pregnancies and STDs. That was pretty much all there was to it. But all of a sudden now we have people preaching that we need to be as graphic as possible because children need to know these things before they enter adulthood, etc. Says who? Based on what? Because, again, we got on just fine without this education. So why is it now kids need this education? Makes you wonder, really. Questions you're never going to hear asked to these people, though. Anyway, so the next article, because this is the same sort of thing, right? But this woman again, this is from the 1st of February. Moni Mum's plea for education change sparks fierce debate. So it goes on to say here that her take on sex education in primary schools has sparked fierce debate among our readers. She's called for a change in how the RSHP education program is taught after her daughter, who was in P5, was left feeling stressed and anxious after being shown some of the teaching materials at school. She said she's not against the program, but believes some of the material is inappropriate for primary school children. All right. Then it goes on to start quoting other parents who got involved, and I'm presuming this was either a news piece that had comments or it was a Facebook post. I don't really know, but Michelle Wayne, whatever, said the slides intended for primary 7 pupils made her feel ill. She said, describing it, I can't even fucking read that, man. I don't want to read that. I'm not averse to these topics, but it's describing it as wet and slippery, and it feeling nice seems too much for a 9-year-old to need to know. Exactly, yeah. I mean, there is literally no justification for this whatsoever. I mean, there really is not. Again, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. I agree that they need to know the basics, but they don't need to know how it feels at this age. They don't need to know how fuck it feels at all, courtesy of a school educational program. They'll find that out themselves in due course. I would also argue that potentially maybe 9-year-old, 10-year-old is maybe still too young to be getting taught about sex education in any capacity. However, I wasn't the tail end of primary 7 when I first got introduced to it. That and first year. Anyway, Alana O'Donnell says the basics and the facts about reproduction, but not all this stuff. Yeah, like it used to be. Amanda Marshall, like Mrs. Cormie said, she was not given prior warning by her daughter's school that they were about to be taught parts of the program. Going on to say that we received an email advising they were going to be watching a film that was a PG, so it's wild we didn't receive one about this. Leanne McCook said, I was horrified when I found out my 11-year-old daughter and her class were shown images of a fully naked man and woman. I may be old school, but I think introducing young people to certain things just makes them more curious. And with a whole dark world out there on the internet, that's when they're going looking for things. And then we get the first little disagreement here. It's a pity I can't get access to this post. I would have been interested to see what everybody was saying on the matter. However, Iona Smith goes on to say that she disagreed with the views being stated, and she goes, all this fuss over a naked human body. Our children need to understand that being naked isn't a bad thing. And learning about the male and female body needs to be normalized. Why does it need to be normalized? Why? Who's saying it's not normalized? The argument being made is that it needs to be normalized, but what's that based on? Right? And more importantly, though, why do children need to understand that being naked isn't a bad thing? And thirdly, and arguably even more importantly, is why the fuck is it the school's job to introduce naked imagery to children in order to, quote, unquote, normalize the idea of being naked? I mean, it's just bizarre. Birds and bees, reproduction, safe sex, STDs. I understand all that, right? I get that. Age appropriate, of course. But why? I mean, it's growing arms and legs, and it has done for some time now. It really has. So then we come down a bit north, and then it says, Patricia, whatever, I'm sorry, I don't know that. It said parents should excuse their children from lessons if they're uncomfortable with this material. I agree. She said, I think parents should be teaching and explaining things to their kids and not the school. Well, I think that's self-explanatory. When my son was in primary, he didn't feel comfortable to be in such a class. I called the school and requested for him not to attend, and they complied. Good. Children will get access to way worse, says Andrina Graham. Children will get access to way worse through online access, no matter how strict their parents are. It's a cartoon illustration with age-appropriate language, and it highlights choice. Children need to know this stuff before they are sexually active. So you mean to tell me, Andrina Graham, that before children become sexually active, it's imperative that they're sat down in a classroom and introduced to slides of naked people and given graphic details in relation to how bodily functions work during the act of sex, really. And it's not obviously just about the sexual side of things. Obviously, there's a lot more resources on this RSHP website, you know, such as like transgender ideology, feminism, of course, standard procedure, etc., etc. It's a lot of shit on that website. And, you know, I don't think any of it's appropriate at all, let alone being age appropriate. That brings us to this. So this is where I first came across this. Sex education complaints to Moray Council remain low, but a number of pupils withdrawn from lessons has begun to increase. This is from the 10th of March, right? It's not exactly great numbers, obviously, like, but 2022 to 2023, 10 pupils were withdrawn from sex education lessons. In 2023 to 2024, it was 20. And as of 2024 to 2025, the number has gone up by 4 to 24. So only 24 pupils have been withdrawn from sex education lessons. Sadly, I would have thought, you would think anyway, that as you know, awareness increases, the number would go up a bit more than that. That's a bit unfortunate to see, but the sort of sex education side of things. But this is the RSHP's website. And if you go to the level section, you've got early level, first level, second level, third level, senior. This is the second level, which is the one that was referred to in the news articles. Learning at this level is likely to be for children in P5, 6, and 7, but it can be earlier or later for some. It is the role of the teacher facilitator to decide when a child or group should be learning at this level. An indication is given of content that could form the starting point of work, with progression to other topics also being included, right? And if you calm down, says the activity plans are not a script. They are a suggested approach with some proposed activities to support teaching and learning. If you are a confident practitioner, you might dip in and out of the activities. If you feel you will benefit from a more of a structure, then you can use what is suggested. This may depend on the topic. Another thing, on a side note, what I've found over the years since I've started like looking into education in Scotland and covering a lot of the shit that's starting to be introduced in Scotland, a hell of a lot of teachers nowadays just simply refer to resources that are provided to them by experts, quote unquote, and activists, etc. You know, they refer to like PDFs and slideshows that have been provided to them from external parties. And I just find that, you know, at best laziness, but I don't even really want to go any further than what I mean if it was at worst, but regardless. So you got like my body, right? My body is changing, feelings in puberty, personal hygiene, what is a friend, making and keeping friends, online, offline friends, right? You know, all this stuff like what happened to going to school, learn your ABCs and whatnot. Now you need to learn about friends and gay families and I don't know, feelings and all those bizarre shits that I just don't necessarily think is totally relevant to school, you know? Stereotypes and equality, you know, a fair and equal life for girls and boys, you know, so the feminist shit as per usual. Can't let kids be kids, can't let boys be boys, can't let girls be girls because there's a gender pay gap and, you know, girls don't become CEOs in companies because of misogyny. Being fair, transgenderism, yeah, of course, that needs to be taught to primary 7s and primary 6s, of course, you know. And my senses, what is consent? My body is mine. It goes on and on and on and on and on. Sexual abuse, emotional well-being. You know, again, like, why is any of this shit being taught in the first place? And I mean, the argument from people that are in support of it will say, well, you know, there's preparing them for the big bad world out there. And I'm just going to keep repeating the same thing that I've done for years when I've made videos on the topic. To be honest, it's like, we got on just fucking fine without needing to know any of this stuff, eh?
Why do we need to be taught about feelings? Why do we need to be taught, or should I say, why do kids need to be taught about lesbian marriages and gay marriages and feelings and consent and all this shit when they're children, you know? It's just, I don't know. And feminism, that's the new one. This is the first slide, for, primary 5, 6, and 7s. How people have sex. What do they do? Right? And then it's like, I can name the private parts of my body, talk about how puberty results in physical and emotional changes, can describe what sexual intercourse can involve. And I understand that sex is something adults do in a relationship. Okay? Now, I had to pause it there to get past some of the other slides because they're a bit weird in terms of the imagery. Anyway, you must be 16 years or older to have sex. I mean, yeah, well, maybe. Thanks for that. Sex is something adults can do when they love each other. All right, okay. But this is like, it starts to get a bit fucking weird, eh? Yeah. Sex should feel nice. Adults learn what they like and don't like. When a man feels like he wants to have sex with his partner, he gets a boner. When a woman feels like having sex with her partner, I mean, is this relevant? Is this appropriate? Really? I don't think so. If a man and a woman are having sex and they both want to do it, the man can put his appendage inside a woman's appendage. It's not the right word, is it? And gently move in and out. This should feel nice. So there is literally nobody, I don't think, arguably, that I could come face to face with who could say to me with a straight face that kids should be taught this in any capacity in order for them to be prepared for the world of adult life. Really? And I don't care about the arguments about they're already exposed to like porn and stuff on the internet. That's the parents' fucking problem, right? But regardless, I know that's an issue in and of itself, but seriously, they need to be taught this? Really? Here's another slideshow from this website. This is for children that are they're a bit older. The 3rd and 4th level, which is described, as for young people in S1, S2, and S3. Okay? So anyway, masturbation. Yeah. Is this appropriate? Really? Yeah. Fucking hell. Anyway, so there we go. Just go through it. Sometimes a boy's appendage or a girl tingly. Yeah. I mean, I feel sort of weirded out reading it aloud, to be honest. But, a boy might want to touch or rub his pee-pee because it feels good. This is called masturbation. When a man or a woman masturbates, they might have an orgasm. Again, this is for kids. Is this appropriate? Why the fuck is this a thing? And again, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. This is not normal. This is not normal to have, in any capacity, been introduced into a classroom, regardless of age. This isn't age appropriate. It's just not appropriate at all. And I'm still yet to this day to see any justification on the contrary. Masturbation, totally normal. They've got a fucking video for you that you can go and watch if you want. It's totally normal. Yeah, that's what you should be teaching the kids, yeah. What is a wet dream? Oh my God. Is it normal for girls? This is questions to Childline, apparently. Is it normal for girls to masturbate? I mean, fuck me. Go back to the article in question from the start. The one where it refers to complaints to Moray Council remain low, but number of pupils withdrawn from lessons has increased. Right. Come down now just to this section where a spokesman for Moray Council has said that all children and young people are entitled to a coherent, broad education from the ages of 3 to 18 through the Curriculum for Excellence. Okay, this includes health and well-being, which covers RSHP, and schools follow national guidance when delivering these lessons, ensuring consistency in the materials and the content used. Moray Council also confirmed that it's received no complaints or requests to remove pupils from sex education lessons in secondary school. Yeah, but You've had a couple of them in primary schools, haven't you? And again, questions should be posed. Why is this stuff in primary schools to begin with? Okay. It's not age appropriate in the slightest, as far as I'm concerned. Some of it is vastly inappropriate in general. That said, the reference to national guidance, this is it reminded me of something. All children and young people are entitled to this education. Okay. Yeah. It reminds me of learning for sustainability. Yes. Learning for sustainability, weaving together global citizenship, sustainable development, education, and outdoor learning to create rewarding and transformative learning experiences that support young people's development and understanding of the world around them. LFS is an entitlement for all learners. Isn't that nice? They're entitled to this education. Within the curriculum for excellence in both the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the UNCRC are central to Scotland's national vision. Okay, then we could just come to Education Scotland, another brief example. A summary of learning for sustainability resources. Again, it goes on to say that this is an approach to life and learning which enables learners, educators, schools, and the wider communities to build a socially just, sustainable, and equitable society. An effective whole school community approach to LFS weaves together global citizenship, sustainable development, education, and outdoor learning to create coherent, rewarding, and transformative, again, that word, learning experiences. And then it says, again, learning for sustainability is an entitlement for all learners within the curriculum for excellence. Isn't that nice and progressive and very fucking convenient, may I say? They're entitled to it. Why are you teaching the kids this? It's because they're entitled to it, Mike. Says who, since when? Or we could come to the Scottish Government's website before I conclude this video, right? I'm coming full circle. Learning for Sustainability Action Plan, introduced in 2023. It's an updated version, of course. Then it says that target 2030, to build an inspiring movement for change. So every 3-year-old plus, because their learning environments become sustainable. The call from learners and educators is clear. More needs to be done to ensure all learners, and bold, so progressive, learners receive their entitlement to learning for sustainability. Children and young people are asking for bold ambition and the necessary action to make change happen. They fully recognize the importance of climate and social justice, equality and outdoor learning for their future life and work in the 21st century, and want this to be a real and meaningful part of their daily learning experience. We need to accelerate the speed of change and educate our learners for the future, right? But then it says here, all of our policy ambitions in relation to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, UNCRC, climate and net zero, biodiversity, circular economy, economic and social transformation, LGBT, transgenderism, porn consumption, safe sex, feelings, masturbation, etc., right? Can only be delivered with the commitment of Scotland's people, supported through their education. However, our vision is not only for a better Scotland, it is a vision for a better world. We are part of a global family of nations working to deliver the UN Sustainable Development Goal commitments. But this bit here, right? Yeah, it can only be, this can only occur. We can't achieve Agenda 2030's ambitions and the targets if we don't support this process via our education. Is this not inappropriate? Okay. I mean, I would argue that if parents are in any capacity pissed off with some of the grotesque shit that they're seeing in slideshows, courtesy of one tiny little fragment of the poison that is academia in this country, I would argue that people should look at this stuff too, because it's equally as fucking vital as far as I'm concerned. And on a side note, briefly, this is a tiny wee school in Inverness, or on the periphery of, right? Early years teacher Anna Shimiel, from Milton Leys Primary School, Inverness, shares her experiences of developing global citizenship with young learners. Okay. And then it says here that she was invited to contribute to the development of a new resource, Seeds for Change, developing global citizenship through play to support teachers working with children from ages 3 to 6. 3 to 6. And what's some of the shit that she's teaching these kids? Yeah, I hear you ask. This involved creating a provocation toolkit, practical methods for creating hooks into global citizenship themes such as gender, anti-racist, education, and nature connection, because it's a fucking cult. Nature connection at one with the world, right? This is some kumbaya cultism, but regardless, gender, anti-racist education. Why are kids being taught that? Why are kids being taught any of this stuff? Why is it everything I've gone through, whether it's the LGBT stuff or the sexual side of things or anything that's been mentioned after the fact, why is any of this being taught? There is nobody that can say that this is remotely justifiable. If it ain't broken, don't fix it, as I fucking said. And again, just because they're entitled, quote unquote, to this BS doesn't mean that it's right at all. It's not right. It's fucking vulgar as far as I'm concerned. And a question needs to be posed here, something to ponder on seriously. Why is it that every single thing that kids seem to be spending more time being taught about in schools seems to be a political concept or a political talking point, whether it's climate change, gender, anti-racism, learning for sustainability, global citizenship, LGBT, transgenderism, and whatnot? Why is this becoming more and more prioritized? Oh, I forgot. That's because we're trying to mold the future. So we have an army of global citizens. Yeah, it's all inappropriate, none of which is age appropriate. And on that note, I think I am done. Yes. Peace.